Hey, good day to you, Dr. Prodigal. Let me take my glasses off so I can just rap to you. I'm noticing a lot of things with this so-called pandemic. Everything that comes about, somebody wants to run. Well, they're coming for us. This is just the reality of life. It's appointed unto man once to die, and then after that, judgment. Okay, well, you know, I don't know. We in the church do a whole lot of crazy stuff sometimes. We just do stuff and we want to get people to buy into our nonsense at times. Oftentimes it's because of the way we were raised and we didn't check things out ourselves. A prime example, most African Americans in America are Christian. They identify as Christian. Yet there's so many that say it was the white man's religion. And why would they say it's the white man's religion? Because, let's face it, during slavery, the white man really distorted Christianity and distorted the Bible and distorted its interpretation just to keep some things going. So I can understand when some things are said like that. But what I can't understand is why would you make a blanket statement without checking some things yourself? While in classes, I had to read this book called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Now this is what we got to do. I got all these other books I got to read. Now I got to read this. Well, I did read it. The man was an investigative reporter. His wife received the Lord. His wife was saved. He didn't like it. He set out to prove her, I guess, is just following the fad. But in his digging and investigating, he said he could not, he couldn't dispute the fact that Jesus Christ is a historical figure and was on this earth. So therefore, he now himself is a Christian. So, and since then he's written another book, The Case for Easter. I still have to get to that one yet because I got so much that I got to read. But this is what I'm saying with that. We need to dig into the Word of God and find out some things. Will it make us better? Yes, unless you use it as a weapon. And then you're no better than anyone else that wants to hurt people for no reason at all. So, this is what I have found out. I had someone tell me, we're in a very tight period of racial tension because some people don't want to admit the fact. But I had someone tell me at one time that there wasn't many instances that he knew of. Matter of fact, he didn't say many, he said any instances of black people in the Bible. So I had to give him an education about Ethiopia. One day, if you really write me, I will, maybe we'll arrange that. Then I walked him from Genesis all the way to Revelation. And then I asked him the question, well, who's the first one to really experience the blood of Christ? And he was like, well, I guess we all were. It was a black man, Simon of Cyrene. When they told him to help carry Jesus' cross, guess what? Jesus had already been bleeding. Just a little trivia for some people. So we go through all of this to say that this is a white man's religion. Do you realize that Christianity was on the African continent before it was in Europe? Oh, we don't believe that. Well, how about if we go back to the book of Acts? And as we go to the book of Acts, we'll see that there was a successful revival going on in Samaria. Philip had the revival kicking. I mean, souls getting saved, people getting healed, devils being cast out. And the God said, okay, leave it all that. Lead a mega revival. And I want you to go down and have an individual revival with an Ethiopian eunuch. Well, again, here we are in Ethiopia. You'd have to do this study of the history of Ethiopia to find out exactly what it was about. But here's Philip that left this great revival, quite sure they were going to give him a nice honorarium, and he goes to this one person. Perhaps that's what God is doing now to us in the church. Because, see, we've become so religious and so everything else until now we don't know if someone is bringing us the word of God. So why am I taking this long way around to come back to here? God is going to pour out his spirit on all flesh in the last days. All flesh. all flesh. He didn't just say Christian. So I'm understanding some things now, and I may have to do, I'm thinking I will have to do a next addition to the community of we, because I have to make it very clear that all flesh is going to include some people that you may not talk to or don't want to talk to. I was on a prayer connection with Prophetess Janice Mixon. Powerful. She said something that rocked my world and opened up the door for more of a revelation and understanding of him pouring out his spirit on all flesh. The Valley of Dry Bones, Ezekiel 37 chapter. I mean, we hear it, and can these dry bones preach? And can these dry bones live? Well, we gonna make them preach too. What she said, and it made so much sense. In that valley of dry bones, there had to be some other people, because for it to be that many skeletons in a valley, there had to be some battles there. So 9 times out of 10, there was some Moabites, some Jesuites, all the ites was there. All of them. But God made it so all of these bones came together, and they rose up as a mighty army. So, guess what? It's not going to be just Americans. It's not going to be just Africans. It's not going to be Latinos. It's just not going to be Asians. It's going to be everybody. When he decides to pour out his spirit on all flesh, it's going to be everybody. Now, are you ready for that? Because then that means that you're going to have to stretch your understanding like Peter did. You're going to have to come out the mindset of you got it going on. Now, I want you to think about it, because there's no difference in us. God made us in his image, all of us. So every last one of these people walking on earth is made in the image of God. Now, you figure that out. But what can we say? So this is what I want you to think of today. We're in this pandemic of sorts. Many people are quarantined or shelter in place, whatever you want to call it. I call it just being wise right now. Just being wise and listening to the wisdom of God, and also what he is speaking through others. But unless we understand that he's going to pour out his spirit on all flesh, we may have some issues. And why is that? Because your unsaved mailman that came and dropped your mail off one day and you could smell liquor on his breath, he may be the one to bring you a message from God. Don't think that just because somebody's not saved that they can't relay a message from the Lord. So you have to constantly be listening and understanding that God does what he wants, when he wants, and how he wants. So why am I saying that? Well, it may not be your Christian brother that's your answer. It may actually be that brother that's a Muslim, that brother that's or that sister that's a Buddhist, or anybody. May not be just them, but God will still pour out his spirit. Now, whether they allow his spirit to abide in them and on them, that's a whole different subject. But at that moment, they have the message for you. Well, you can't do that as long as you're stuck up in churches, and I ain't saying nothing to them. I'm not saying to hang around people like that. I have associates and friends that I'm just not around that much. This time at home has been something for me, and it's been something that I've needed. So I'd like for you to think about when you go outside today, or you get ready to go to work or wherever, or even if you choose to go to church. Our church has not reopened yet, but yet we are being fed constantly. So I'm loving that. But as you go out, you look at all the people around and you realize, I'm in the valley of dry bones, and God's going to cause all of this to come together, because he's going to pour out his spirit on all flesh. Now the question is, on all the flesh, if you're working in your flesh, you're not going to hear the spirit that's coming through the flesh. Think about it. We all have struggles. We all have battles. But we shouldn't be constantly saying we're fighting because we're standing in victory. So instead of a stance of offense and being on the offensive to get victory, how about we just stay still and be on defense? So this is what I'm saying. I'm standing in a position of victory. I'm expecting God to pour out his flesh on his spirit on all flesh. So therefore, I'm going to be listening to all people, and yet I'm listening to God, because even if that person doesn't have a message for me, God may give me a message for them to bring them into the kingdom. Let that sink in. You pulling up to the light. This person is panhandling, I think that's the word for it. He's asking for money because he's homeless or whatever. Well, I look at that as an opportunity for a blessing on me. Yes, I do. So how do I deal with that? I give it to him, because God said himself in his word, and we need to learn his word and just stand on the promises. God said himself that whoever gives to the poor lends to the Lord. So that means if God is going to pay me, he told me I can't charge usury or interest, but he didn't say he wouldn't pay that. So these are opportunities, and he's pouring out his spirit through you on that flesh. But as you pull up, that person may receive something from you and say, God bless you. I was just praying for this 5 minutes ago because I hadn't received anything. Now that's letting you know that the same God that they're speaking to is speaking to you, and you come over to them. So ain't that something? Listen for the word of God coming through all flesh. Dr. Prodigal, I love y'all, man. I love y'all. And this is a time of opportunity for all of us in the word of God. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.